Welcome back, menaces. I'm here. I was grabbing the top of the mic with my grubby hands, so I don't know, that happened. I borrowed someone else's computer so that I can record this video, and hopefully the audio quality is good. I don't know if the computer is going to have anything to do with that, but I don't know. I'm going to edit this. I'll just figure that out later. But as an apology for not uploading a video for so long, I'm going to be uploading a special secret surprise video pretty soon after this one. So that's been coming up. Anyways, let's get to the thing I've been trying to talk about for months on end. 1 month, actually, which is David Gilmour solo stuff. Ours would be more professional to say. Solo discography. This is the first solo career from Pink Floyd that I checked out. That's why it's the first video that I'm recording for this. But as of now, I've heard all of their solo albums except for Richard Wright's, and I've heard uh, Roger Waters' solo stuff 3 times on end. Anyways, let's talk about his first album, David Gilmour. And this one, it may be the first, but it certainly is the worst. It's very, very, very overproduced. I feel like there's like two sides to David Gilmour. Just in general, it's either overproduced or like chill, relaxing folk music. This is the overproduced stuff. So is About Face. But this, it's so much like really distorted guitar. Everything sounds like it was made in the 70s, which it was, 1978. Uh, this opening track, Mahalis, has apparently been used as like filler music on like news stations. It would be like, we'll be back in 1 sec. Here's the music break. Gonna play Mahalis because it sounds like news background music. That's true. The riff is really boring, which makes the first 2 minutes of the song really boring, and then he guitar solos, which is fine, but this song goes on a really long time. It's about 6 minutes long, and apparently there's a live version that's 10 minutes long. I didn't get to hear it though, because they removed the album off of streaming, because it was just a ploy, a copyright ploy. Anyways, moving on. There's No Way Out of Here is a cover, which is surprising. You don't see a lot of those in Pink Floyd related works. But here's one, and it's the best song off the album, I think. Give me a second. It's the best song off the album. There's No Way Out of Here is good. I love the backing vocals at the end. That's really good. I don't know. Just a great riff. Apparently it's a harmonica, but it's generally pretty good song. Pride from the Street sounds like the most generic 70s rock song ever, at least in the opening riff. After the drums kick in, it does get nice and groovy. Jesus Christ, I almost said Roger Waters' vocals. David Gilmour's vocals are reverbed a lot, and there's a switch up, which is neat. So Far Away has a good piano riff in a certain spot. That's cool. It's a good song, but it's not like the best thing ever. It's got a good riff though. Short and Sweet is Long and Sour, or at least that's what I'd say before I started liking this song. It is pretty boring though. That has to be like the point somehow. It is a slow song. Instrumental is good in some parts, but man, that beginning part, that is so 70s. It's like distorted disco guitar or whatever. And that's why it sounds like Run Like Hell, which sounds like a disco song, that's for sure. Run Like Hell is like the spitting image of a disco song, in my mind at least. I've never heard a disco song before. Raise My Rent goes on for so long. Great riff. Apparently inspired What Do You Want From Me But man, every time you think it's gonna end, it just keeps going. Anyways, uh, anyways, I didn't go off topic. Anyways, okay, it was justified there. No Way sounds very defiant. Defiant song, love it. About Roger Waters, of course. It definitely sounds like a song that an alien would make. All the guitars are really distorted. It's insane. Love it though, because of just that guitar riff, and it's like boing. Near the end, it's taking me so long to figure out. The last track is I Can't Breathe Anymore. I Can't Breathe Anymore starts off with some pretty generic arpeggios, but the ending instrumental bit is really cool. So like, I got an 8 or something for that song. Overall, I'm gonna give this whole album an 8 out of 10. It's good, but there's better albums out there. Anyways, we got About Face by David Gilmour, which is his second studio album. The opening track is Until We Sleep, which is the most overproduced song I've ever heard. I don't even know what instrument is playing it. And it's got those 80s sound effects in the beginning, really 80s. The second track, Murder, has less of an 80s vibe and more of a really cool, good song vibe. Murder is the best David Gilmour song. It's about the murder of Jonathan Lennon. And I was just talking to some guy on Reddit about how I think the lyrics are good. And I do think the lyrics are good. It's David Gilmour's best lyrical work. Great lyrics. Opens with that acoustic guitar, really cool. And then the strings in the background. It's a bit of a progressive song. Then the bass comes in, fretless bass. I can only assume David Gilmour is playing it, but it could be anyone, really. But great, and then the drums come in, and it transitions into that big, large, rock-sounding bit. Great stuff. David Gilmour does a short guitar solo, and then it transitions into a bit faster, big switch up here, big bit faster part, really distorted guitar. Really cool, and it's actually shorter than 5 minutes. It's 4 minutes 59. Love on the Air is a good song. It's better than some other, pop radio songs on this album. I like it a lot. Just realizing now that Love on the Air is a pun on Live on the Air. Anyways, for my editor, my secret editor, here's a bit of a secret. I'm lying. I actually figured that out like 3 weeks ago, but it was news to me when I first recorded this video, so I want to keep it in. Anyways, it's Blue Light, which has an extremely 80s riff and trumpets. That one's cool. There's a weird drum breakdown in the middle. It's neat. I don't even know what the phrase blue light even means. I like when he goes, she squeezes, she freezes, because that's funny. Overall, extremely 80s song. Out of the Blue is nice. Anyone would love it. The drop really felt familiar to me, and then I realized it sounds a lot like the drop in Don't Leave Me Now. But it's really good. All Lovers Are Deranged is pretty cool. I like how he says all lovers are deranged. Some of the lyrics are pretty neat, but it's overall not that great of a song. The following track is You Know I'm Right, which is really cool in the beginning, and then it transitions into an 80s song with trumpets, and I like the first part better. I always forget the track listing of this album. The next song is Cruise. This album is very dexterous. That's not the correct application of that term, but this album does a lot of different things. We've got 80s music, we've got trumpets, and Murder, which is like acoustic, and All Lovers Deranged, which is like straight up rock, and now we've got like reggae here in Cruise, and it sounds so pleasing to the ears. And also David Gilmour is doing his Roger Waters thing by making a song about bombs, which is neato, and it's all sarcastic, and the chorus reminds me of like this big patriotic anthem, but obviously it's all in jest, and I love it so much because the music actually has meaning. Not that, and it's like it references out of the blue. It's like a random spurt of conceptual genius out of David Gilmour. Just listen to Out of the Blue and then listen to Cruise and just like tell me that's like they're not interconnected in some way. Both great songs, but Cruise is probably a lot better. Love it, love it, love it. Let's get metaphysical. Like I said, a lot of different genres here. Let's get metaphysical is like a movie soundtrack or something. I don't know, cool guitar solo and trumpets. I didn't say it loudly this time because they're actually incorporated well into the song. And then you get near the end, which is sort of like the classic from this album. It's the one that people love. It's placed very obviously at the end for a reason. Who says that David Gilmour didn't know how to order an album? Nobody. I've never heard that complaint ever, but he put near the end at the end of the album. And he talks about like flipping over a vinyl record, in the beginning lines, it's cool. And you're probably thinking, but actually, sorry, I lost you for a second there. Photo Booth is not having the greatest time. Who invented this app? Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, you were probably thinking, oh, but it's at the end. It's not near the end. But you see, but when David Gilmour is singing the lines after the vocals stop, there's a whole instrumental sequence. So like what he's singing actually works because you're feeling you're near the end of the album, but the end is actually the actual end of the album after the song finishes. So yeah, that makes sense. Everyone followed along with that logic. This song is just Sulk. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go listen to Sulk by Radiohead. Or not, I'm just going to explain it to you. The same theme of Sulk is the same theme that's in the B section of this song. And that's all I can think of when I hear it. It plays that theme and I'm just going brum 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 brum. That's the bass line, by the way. I'm playing the bass line from Sulk in my head along with the song. Anyways, this album is better than the last one. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Quick side note here. It's really hard to record with this app. His third album, On an Island, is people love it. They did a poll on r/Pink Floyd, and they found out that this is objectively the best solo album because all the people on r/Pink Floyd thought it was the best solo album, and somehow David Gilmour self-titled ended up at number 2. Don't ask me how. But anyways, people love this album, and I like it. But it's not his best work. Let me explain. And by let me explain, I'm just going to talk about the album for a second now. Castle Horizon starts off with like 2 minutes of sound effects. Good for you, David Gilmour, pulling off a concept. And it's basically like Speak to Me, except it's got actual music in here because it's got a good guitar solo and strings and orchestration is really good on this album. On an Island, it's a good track. I love it, but there's better tracks on the album. Oh, Jesus Christ, my laptop is scalding hot. Red Sky at Night, This Heaven, and Then I Close My Eyes is a long stretch of boring songs. Not good. They're fine, actually. I used to consider Then I Close My Eyes the worst David Gilmour solo song, but that's probably Mahalis, actually. That's probably what breaks down this album for me, is those 3 songs I just can't get into, especially This Heaven. That's probably the worst song of the album. But then we pick back up with the final 3 songs. Smile's good, nice acoustic song. David Gilmour sounds really sad, and there's Polly Samson vocals, and they're really good, and it's like got a big midsection, big emotional midsection, and then we get A Pocket Full of Stones, which is probably the best song off the album, and it's like around 6 minutes long, and it's good, and it's good, and it's good. It's probably more of a progressive song, for it's hard to me to get into, but it's all really good. I love it all. Piano is great, David Gilmour's great, lyrics are great, whole thing is good. Where We Start has a super clean guitar in it. That's great. So overall, this album is pretty good. It's more concise than the last 2 albums, last 2 works, but that midsection, not the greatest. 9 out of 10. Now we get into his worst album. And no, I'm not talking about Rattle That Lock. talking about metallic spheres with the orb, which most of my criticisms of this album lie in the fact that I don't like the producer. Youth is the production is so bad and annoying, and I hate it, and I hate it, and I hate it. But the songs are pretty good. And by songs, I mean the two songs that make up the main part of this album. The bonus track is the most substanceless thing I've ever heard. It's kind of hard for me to talk about this album in detail because the songs are split into like different sections, and I don't even know where the sections start and the sections end, and it's all confusing, and I don't remember it very well. But up until earlier, before I last listened to this album, I probably would have given it a 6 out of 10. But this time around, I'm going to give it a C, a 7 out of 10. And I would rather listen to The Endless River. That's my insult. Let's talk about his best album, Rattle That Lock. Boy, Rattle That Lock is good. It's way better than On an Island. It's way better than his first two albums. It blows me away each time. Every song is a certified banger, except one. We'll get to it. You probably already know what it is if you've heard this album, but we'll talk about that later. The opener, 5 a.m. It's good. It's nice. It's simple. It's clean. Good guitar, obviously, but it's just a lead-in for the title track, which is awesome. The theme to it, the old jingle, is really cool. It sounds super sci-fi, and the chorus is great. And I love those backing vocals. Bit odd. It ends on this weird like tribal beat at the end. I don't know what that's all about. But that beat started the live versions of this song. The third track is Faces of Stone, which is good. Just from the opening, you've got that haunting piano. I'm always in for a good piano bit, and this is just so good, I swear. And then acoustic guitar picks up, and then it's real dark, and it's David Gilmour written lyrics. So that's how you know it's gonna be good. And it's really cool. And then like that sort of like clip of that like maracas, and then explodes into the big grand thing with that piano coming back in, and then second verse, oh, it's become a circus music now. Don't know when that happened, but it's circus music now, and it's creepy, and it's awesome, and then it explodes again, but it's guitar solo this time, and it's that big, like, bridge. It's so cool, and I love it all, and it's greatly followed up by another very emotional song, A Boat Lies Waiting, which is creepy, but in a more eerie sense. Oh wow, David Gilmour making creepy and dark music. Who would have ever thunk it? This one starts off with a bunch of ambient music, which is surprisingly better than most of The Endless River, and then David Gilmour picks up with him playing the piano riff this time, and it repeats and repeats, and then it fades out and never resolves, and it's like a ghost. It's so creepy. And there's a whole bunch of background noise, and that just helps the atmosphere so much, and the vocals are this big harmonized vocals, good lyrics. The final line is, it rocks you like a cradle as it knocks at death's door, and then it just fades out on the same riff that's been playing for the past 2 minutes, which is why I think it's a bit of a creepy song. I love it though. I love the whole atmosphere. It's very watery, and that's why it's called A Boat Lies Waiting, and that's why David Gilmour even said that the riff was supposed to represent waves. Anyways, this song's about Richard Wright, so that's how you know it's gonna be good. And the last Pink Floyd album, was about Richard Wright, and this song is better than any song on that album. So maybe David Gilmour should have brought out his A Boat Lies Waiting skills for that album. Anyways, that's followed up with Dancing Right in Front of Me, which is good from the very start. Great rhythm guitar. Love the vocal melodies. Love the groove. And then that awesome riff where it just becomes like big and heavy. And then there's this bit in the middle where it suddenly becomes a different song, which is really cool. David Gilmour singing deep vocals, and then it goes back to the instrumental you've heard before with the rhythm guitar, but they add that call and response riff with the harmonized vocals and the piano, which is cool, and then a piano breakdown via David Gilmour, again playing piano on this song. That's awesome. And then a guitar solo, of course. And I don't remember much about the guitar solo, but the rest of the song's pretty awesome, pretty epic. Can you tell I love this album? We're only halfway through. The next track, people also love. It's In Any Tongue, but no, it's actually pretty good. And it's that chorus, that high note that David Gilmour hits in the chorus. Wow, that's great. And there's also a variety of subject matter on here, and I'll just go on and explain it. This one's about war. There's a bright as hell light shining on my face, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Continuing on. Great piano in the middle, guitar solo at the end, really good. The following track is Beauty. I think. This one's really cool. The beginning, it doesn't immediately grab you, but then it turns into this like X-Files detective sounding thing, and oh, it's really cool. And then that guitar riff, and then it picks up in this big rock sounding thing, and then it fades out, disappointing, but it's good. The Girl in the Yellow Dress. This is a jazz song, and it's good, and I like it until the vocals stop, and then it's just kind of boring. And there's this extraneous sound effects that they put in here that always make me think like they're actually coming from inside my room. It's a bit confusing, but oh well. So that's a pretty great song. Now it's time to talk about the not great song today. Still pretty good, but I mean, have you heard the rest of the album? Near the end is actually really great, though. It's like 5 a.m., but they had to make it into an actual song here, which is awesome, and it's sort of got like a verse-chorus structure with, I don't know with what, but guitar is great, and the chorus is big and grand, and it fades out the same sound effects that started it. Take that, Roger! David Gilmour can also do repeating albums. But that's all good. So that's why I love Rattle That Lock, his final studio album, as of now. Better than every other David Gilmour album. So we're going to smack a 9.5 label on that and talk in short about some live albums that David Gilmour produced. Live in Gdansk and Live at Pompeii. Live in Gdansk is better than Live at Pompeii, so despite Live at Pompeii probably being a bit more popular, I mean, especially because the original Live at Pompeii is so popular, but Live in Gdansk is better, and I think it's because of, you know, the solo stuff. More solo stuff in your solo live albums, that's what I want. And I also think it has a more unique track listing, but I think the solo stuff here actually holds a candle to the original studio versions and is mostly better, especially Then I Close My Eyes, which is a completely different song basically at this point. On an Island, which has them like putting two different guitar solos on top of each other. The blues a bit longer. This Heaven is actually good, and Where We Start is extended a bit. I don't know how they made A Pocket Full of Stones shorter, though. I don't know how they managed to do that. Apparently there was a cornet solo on the original version of Then I Close My Eyes, but the mixing's so bad I didn't even realize that. So, take that as a very honest insult towards that song. I just want to say that my favorite performance of Flying Crazy Diamond is not from either of these. My favorite David Gilmour performance is actually live at the Royal Albert Hall, and you'll find that as a single on Spotify. I think that's from Remember That Night, which is the video album, but I don't know for sure. But that's all good. Anyways, I just want to put a cap on David Gilmour's studio solo career. I'm going to grade his entire solo career. Just give me a second. I'm going to give it an 8.2 out of... I don't know how we got to 8.2, but I'm giving it an 8.2 out of 10. 8.4, actually, more like it. Let's just round that up to an even 8.5 out of 10, and then just put like a picture of David Gilmour right there, and put 8.5 out of 10 of it. I'm going to give David Gilmour's studio solo career, because I'm not great with live albums, so I'm going to give his studio solo career an 8.5 out of 10. Sounds good. See you when I can. Bye. I'm getting really mad right now. And this is probably not going to end up in the video. But how does photo booth work? And why is it so bad? Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.